I never imagined her voice would sting worse than silence. It hit me after work. Screen dimmed, red notification blinking like a warning light. One new message. I tapped the icon, expecting a reminder about dinner reservations or her laugh laced with some minor irritation. Instead, I heard cold punctuation in every syllable. I'm done pretending. Our marriage is off. Expect divorce papers from my lawyer. She didn't even say goodbye. My knees went weak. I sat on the hardwood, phone sliding from my palm. The echo of her voice lingered in the apartment like an uninvited guest, bouncing off framed wedding pictures and the scent of lavender she always sprayed on the curtains. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't blink. It was like being buried alive under the weight of secrets I hadn't yet told her, but she already knew. Maybe I should have confessed weeks ago. Maybe I should have never let it happen. But I did. I let my mind wander. My body followed. It started innocently, like fireflies in a jar, blinking unnoticed. A smile at the cafe. Fingers brushing mine while reaching for sugar packet. A name etched in memory before guilt had time to form. Elena. She was everything my wife wasn't anymore, spontaneous, unfiltered, dangerously curious. Her eyes never judged. Her lips spoke riddles, and I found myself unraveling with each conversation. One evening turned into two. Then came the late-night text. Then came the rain-drenched kiss outside her building, hesitation swallowed by thunder. I told myself it wasn't real. Just a moment. An accident. But it became a rhythm. A need. A hunger that didn't go away when the sun rose. Still, I went home to my wife. Kissed her cheek. Pretended. She laughed at shows I didn't watch. Made love like strangers playing roles we'd memorized long ago. But her eyes? They were searching. Digging. She knew. Maybe not the name. But she sensed the absence of something once warm. After the voicemail, I poured scotch. No ice. Just fire. The silence screamed louder than any argument we ever had. My heart thudded like it wanted out. And then came the knock. 3 sharp raps. Unannounced. Midnight. I opened the door, shirt untucked, mind in a spiral. Elena stood there. Rain-soaked dress. No umbrella. Hair clinging to her cheeks like wet silk. I heard, she whispered. How? I asked, throat dry. She posted about it. Cryptic, but obvious. I stepped aside. She entered like she belonged, even though she didn't. Not yet. We didn't speak. Just stared. Her fingers reached for mine. Warm, alive, trembling. And I, traitor to vows and promises, didn't resist. Elena's fingers curled around mine, hesitant yet electric. Thunder rolled behind her as I shut the door, locking out guilt along with the rain. She didn't speak. Neither did I. Words felt brittle, like glass underfoot, so we let silence carry us to the couch where we sat, hearts pounding against fabric in doubt. She looked at me, mascara smudged, eyes questioning. Are you okay? She finally asked. I wasn't. But I nodded. I wanted to tell her everything, how my wife's voice haunted the corners of every room now, how betrayal tastes bitter even when dressed in velvet, but I couldn't summon the vocabulary. Instead, I stared at the shape of her mouth and remembered how it tasted before consequences existed. Elena, I said, trying to find a sentence that wasn't a lie. Don't explain, she said, pulling her knees close. I shouldn't have come. But she stayed. She always stayed. That was the danger. I reached for her hand again. She let me. Skin against skin. Heat through fingertips. A language older than apology. We kissed. Soft at first. Hesitant. Then deeper, urgent, wounded, feral. Her hands tugged my shirt, breath warm against my collarbone. We moved like two people trying to forget something they hadn't fully remembered. I carried her to the bedroom, not our bed, the guest room. I couldn't bear to stain that space any further than I already had. Clothes disappeared, puddles of fabric marking our descent. Her nails raked my back. My mouth found places I'd memorized. She whispered things that sounded like surrender, and I answered in kind. When it was over, we didn't speak. The ceiling offered no comfort. Her leg draped over mine. Her breathing steadied. I listened to the hum of night, broken only by distant traffic and the rhythm of shame thudding in my chest. She fell asleep first. I didn't. My phone buzzed again around 3:04 a.m. Another voicemail. Unknown number. I hesitated before pressing play. You'll hear from my attorney tomorrow. Don't contact me. Don't try to fix what you destroyed. Her tone wasn't angry. It was calm. Dead calm. That scared me more than fury. My wife was never one for drama. She buried her rage beneath routines, polite smiles, tight calendars. But this voice, this edge, meant finality. I stared at the woman asleep beside me, moonlight tracing her jawline. She was beautiful. So was my wife. Beauty wasn't the problem. The problem was I craved chaos. And Elena? She was wildfire. But wildfires don't stay. They burn, consume, leave ashes behind. I rose from the bed, walked to the kitchen, poured another drink. Scotch again. This time I added ice. Maybe I hoped to chill something inside me. Regret, maybe. Or desire. Morning light crept through blinds. My house was still. But inside, storms raged. I knew tomorrow held meetings, papers, lawyers, consequences. But tonight? Tonight was for ghosts. And I was haunted by both women, one who once wore my ring and one who never would. Morning betrayed me. Light spilled across the hardwood like truth through blinds. Every corner of the house felt too exposed, every sound sharpened by the absence of her, Ava. My wife. My ghost. Elena was still upstairs, curled beneath borrowed sheet. She smelled like vanilla and ruin. I couldn't go back up. Not yet. Maybe not ever. My inbox pinged at 8:02 a.m. Subject: Formal notice of divorce. Attachment: petition and summons. Sender: Grayson and Fields LLP. I opened the PDF with trembling hands. Legalese wrapped around my throat like a noose. Words like dissolution, irreconcilable, partition of assets blinked back at me. There it was. The cost of every kiss I never should have taken. I tried calling her once. Straight to voicemail. Her recorded voice sounded mechanical now, robotic warmth. Not the woman who once left me breakfast notes in lipstick or sang in the shower like the world wasn't watching. I paced the kitchen, stepping over memories like landmines. The dent in the floor from when we dropped the bookshelf. The wine stain we pretended looked like a heart. Her tea mug, still drying upside down on the rack, untouched since Tuesday. I sat at the counter, opened a drawer, and stared at her wedding band. She left it behind. She always said if she ever took it off, she wouldn't come back. I thought it was metaphor. It wasn't. I turned the silver circle in my palm, feeling its chill. Funny how metal can weigh more than entire decisions. Behind me, floorboards creaked. Elena. She wore my shirt, unbuttoned, clinging to one shoulder. Her hair wild. Her eyes uncertain. I didn't want to wake you, I said, voice raw. I couldn't sleep, she replied, walking slowly, like afraid she'd step on something fragile. She poured herself coffee without asking. Familiar already. Dangerous. Are you okay? She asked. I laughed, bitter. My wife's lawyer just emailed me papers. I'm not okay. She nodded but didn't respond. We sat in silence, coffee cooling between us. Then she looked at me, not the way lovers look, but the way people do before exits. I think I should go, she whispered. Something twisted in my chest. Relief? Regret? Rage? Probably, I said. She didn't wait for me to say anything else. She left the mug on the table, picked up her heels, and walked out barefoot. The door clicked shut. I was alone. Really alone. Not the kind where someone's upstairs or in the next room. The kind that lives in your walls and whispers your failures back to you. I wandered into our bedroom. Her side of the closet gaped empty. Hangers rattled. All that remained was a scarf I bought her on our 5th anniversary and a spritz of her perfume on the pillowcase. I laid down. I inhaled. I cried. Not loud, not dramatic. Quiet, like water leaking from pipes. Tears ran down the sides of my face, pooling in my ears. I deserved this. All of it. But in the quiet, my phone buzzed again. Not Ava. Not Elena. Unknown number. Message: you don't know me. But I know her. We need to talk. My blood froze. Another secret? Another consequence? Another fire, waiting for a match? I stared at the message, rereading it until the words blurred. You don't know me. But I know her. We need to talk. There are texts you delete. There are ones you pretend never happened. And then there are those that sink their claws into your mind and demand a response. This was the third kind. I typed, erased, retype. Me, who is this? 3 dots appeared. Then disappeared. Then came back. Meet me at Charlie's Diner. 1 hour. Booth near the window. Nothing more. I hesitated. Every instinct screamed walk away. But instinct's been wrong before. It's what brought me to Elena. What kept me from confessing to Ava. What buried my honesty in lust-soaked shadows. I showered quickly, dressed in last night's clothes. No energy for fresh. Just function. At the diner, the windows reflected gray skies. Rain threatened again, heavy and humid. Inside, the smell of burnt toast and reheated bacon greeted me. Familiar. Nostalgic. Not comforting. There she was. A woman in her early 30s. Honey-colored hair tied back. Sharp cheekbones. Black leather jacket. She looked like someone used to giving orders and having them followed. A waitress passed. She didn't look up. I approached cautiously. You're the guy, she said before I could open my mouth. Depends who you think I am. She slid a manila envelope across the table. I'm Camille, she said, tone clipped. Ava's coworker. Her friend. Occasionally her therapist. Always her backup plan. Backup plan? I asked, sitting slowly. She told me if anything ever happened, if you ever did what she was afraid you might, I should contact you. With that, I stared at the envelope. Thick. Heavy. Secrets inside. She knew. I whispered. Camille nodded. Not details. But she saw the shift. She always sees everything. She hoped she was wrong. But she prepared for being right. I didn't touch the envelope. She's divorcing me, I said. As if Camille didn't already know. She's saving herself, Camille corrected. I clenched my jaw. Why meet me now? She didn't want to burn the whole house down. She still cares, believe it or not. She asked me to give you one chance. One chance for what? To come clean. To admit you screwed up. To walk away from whatever mess you're clinging to. And if I don't? She fights dirty. She fights smart. You'll lose everything. The waitress came. Camille ordered black coffee. I declined. She doesn't want money, Camille continued. She wants truth. And space. And silence. And the envelope? Evidence. Not just about you. That got my attention. What do you mean? She didn't cheat, if that's what you're thinking. But she wasn't passive either. Ava's not the type to fold her hands and pray. She was watching. I finally touched the envelope. Didn't open it. Just felt its weight. Why give this to me? Why not let her handle it? Camille sipped her coffee. Because she's done handling you. She stood, tossed a 20 on the table. Final piece of advice, she said. Whatever game you were playing. It's over. Accept the loss. She left before I could reply. I sat there, alone, envelope in hand, wondering how many layers this story really had. I opened it. Inside, photos, screenshot, emails, my messages to Elena, Elena's replies, Ava's notes, meticulous, dated, annotated, my own betrayal laid out like an autopsy. But there was more. Another note, handwritten. If you're reading this, it means you finally understand what you've done. You always said you hated lies. So here's mine. I stopped loving you 6 months ago. I just didn't have the heart to say it. I drove home with trembling hands and a passenger seat full of truth. The envelope stayed beside me, like a bomb I couldn't defuse. I kept the radio off. Silence was louder than any melody. Ava's note looped through my mind like a broken lullaby. I stopped loving you 6 months ago. I just didn't have the heart to say it. What do you do when you realize you're the villain in your own story? You start telling the truth. Or at least you try. At home, I poured myself another glass of regret. Neat, no ice this time. I stood in front of the hallway mirror, the same one where Ava once adjusted her earrings and I'd kissed the curve of her neck. That reflection had lied to me. Now it showed something else, emptiness shaped like a man. The doorbell rang. Twice. Cautious, curious, careless, I opened it. Elena. Wind tangled her hair. Her expression unreadable. You weren't answering, she said. I needed to see you. I stepped aside. Once inside, she didn't remove her coat. Her eyes scanned the room like it was foreign terrain. She posted something today, Elena said. What? I asked, shutting the door behind her. She tagged you. Or your absence, really. It was a photo of an empty ring box. Caption said, I should have known better than to gamble with ghosts. You didn't tell me it was over. It's not just over, I replied. It's eviscerated. She left me pieces. Elena folded her arms. And where do I fit into the wreckage? I didn't answer. She stepped closer. You used me. I wanted you, I said. That's not the same thing. She was right. Want and value are not synonyms. I thought we had something, she whispered. So did I. Until it became evidence. She looked away, then back. So this is it? I didn't respond. She walked toward the door. Before she could leave, I said, I never meant for you to be a consequence. But that's what I became. Then she left. Again. This time, the silence that followed wasn't heavy, it was cleansing. Like a storm had passed, and all that remained were flooded roads and a ruined garden. Later that night, I did what I should have done months ago. I sat at the kitchen table and wrote. Not text. Not emails. Not damage control. A letter. To Ava. Handwritten, like her note. Ava. I won't ask you to forgive me. I won't pretend this letter can rebuild anything. I just want to speak plainly for once. No seduction. No deflection. Just truth. I failed you. Not just with another woman, but in the erosion of trust long before her name was ever spoken. I stopped being your partner and became your roommate. I shut you out, wore silence like armor, and let my needs scream while yours barely whispered. You were right to leave. You were brave to walk away from the version of me that couldn't love you the way you deserve. I'm not writing for a second chance. I'm writing because the man you married should have done this before he broke you. Whatever future you find, I hope it loves you loudly. Ian. I sealed it, left it on her doorstep the next morning before sunrise. No note, no knock. Just closure. When I returned home, I felt something different. Not relief. Not sadness. Stillness. For the first time in years, I wasn't chasing or hiding. I just was. Then came a knock. I didn't move. Another knock. I opened the door. It wasn't Ava. It wasn't Elena. It was someone I never expected. The woman at the door was unfamiliar. Late 20s, petite, confident posture wrapped in a trench coat the color of wet asphalt. Her eyes were sharp, hazel, almost golden, with something behind them I couldn't read. Ian? She asked, soft but direct. Yes. She paused and hailed. I'm Mara. The name meant nothing to me. You don't know me, she said, confirming what I'd already guessed. But I think we should talk. I hesitated, glanced toward the street, scanning for context. Camera crew, set up, prank. Nothing. Just rain on pavement and a parked silver sedan idling near the curb. I'm not here to fight, she added. But it's about Ava. And about you. My throat tightened. Come in. She entered with caution, like she didn't trust the floor to hold her. I gestured to the couch. She sat. I remained standing. She's my cousin, Mara said. Ava. We've been close since we were kids. She told me not to get involved. But she's hurting, and I couldn't keep watching without doing something. I said nothing. I read the letter you left her, she continued. My heart skipped. She called me after reading it. Didn't say much, but I could hear something different in her voice. Like she finally exhaled after holding her breath for a year. Did it help? I asked. Honestly, Mara looked up. I think it broke her. In the right way. I sat finally across from her. So why are you here? Because closure isn't a clean break. It's messy. It bleeds. And you, she exhaled. You were her everything. Now you're a wound she's learning not to scratch. I nodded slowly. I know. She tilted her head. She's not coming back. You know that, right? I don't want her to, I said, surprising myself. Not after what I did. Mara studied me. You're not what she remembers. But you might be who you used to be. Silence stretched between us. Then she added, there's more. More. She wasn't the only one who saw what was happening. Others noticed too. Her parents, her co-workers, even her therapist said the marriage was cracking months before the affair. I sank deeper into the couch. Mara continued. You're not the first man to fall apart. But you might be one of the few who admits it before it's too late to grow from it. I didn't know what to say to that. Her words weren't cruel. They weren't pitying either. Just true. She stood, brushed non-existent dust from her coat. She asked me to return something. Mara handed me a small box, white, tied with a blue ribbon. She found this in her closet. Said she bought it for your birthday last year, before things collapsed. I unwrapped it. A leather key holder. Inside was a note. For all the doors you never opened, and the ones you're still afraid to. I held it like a relic from a religion I'd abandoned. She doesn't want anything back, Mara added. Not the house. Not the gift. Not even the apology. Just distance. And peace. I nodded. She deserves both. Mara walked to the door. Before leaving, she turned and said, You ever need to talk to someone who doesn't love you, doesn't hate you, but understands? Call me. She slid a card on the table. No title. Just a number and her name. Then she was gone. Weeks passed. No text. No voicemails. No Elena. No Ava. Just me. I started running again. Cleaned out closet. Burned the bedsheets. Repainted the bedroom. I kept the leather key holder. Not as a reminder of guilt, but of who I promised myself I'd never be again. And sometimes, when I passed Ava's old cafe, I'd smile. Not because I missed her. Because I finally knew how much she once gave me, and how little I gave back. And that's the thing about love. It doesn't always end with a scream. Sometimes it ends with a voicemail, and a door that stays closed because you finally learned how to leave it that way.